Hi everyone, this is a video from about 2 years ago and I'm going to give a link to the channel in my description. It's by a girl called Emily and it's regarding feeders and those who are fed, and then the other end of the spectrum such as Eugenia Cooney. It's only a short video, it's about 10 minutes long, and I'll speed it up just slightly. Hang on. Yeah. So I think you'll find it very interesting. She's very articulate and has researched the subject extremely well. I don't think she's done any other videos since this one regarding this particular subject. I'm not sure. I don't think she has. But nevertheless, very interesting young woman, and I'll put the link to Emily's channel in my description if you'd like to go over there and maybe subscribe to her. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So those of you that have been following me know that sometimes I like to cover somewhat controversial subjects, and today is one of those days. As requested, I am going to be talking about two relatively unknown and secretive fetishes that are finally being exposed to the mainstream little by little, but I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about it in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
And that is the anorexia fetish, and on the other side of the spectrum, the feeder fetish. So for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, I will put this in the broadest terms possible for you. An anorexia fetishist is somebody who is turned on by a man or woman starving themselves until they become emaciated or deathly skinny. A feeder or fat fetishist, on the other hand, is somebody who is turned on by their partner gaining substantial amounts of weight, usually in the shortest amount of time possible. There are websites out there that make loads of money targeting this niche demographic, and even social media sites set up so that people who want to get bigger or smaller can get matched up with a partner who will encourage and enable this dangerous behavior. So I will start out by showing you two prominent figures in both the gaining community as well as the anorexia fetish community, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. I warn you, these photos and the descriptions of them might be triggering to some people, so I will age restrict this video. However, I do encourage parents to talk to their teenagers about this,
a
especially
trigger warning
if your child
if you're
is
going to
substantially
be
overweight
disturbed.
or has anorexic tendencies,
Nothing that we
because there are
haven't
a lot of
seen
predators out there that seek very young people to adopt this type of lifestyle on both sides of the spectrum. One example of a prominent member of the feeder-feedy community is Ivy Davenport, aka Hot Fatty Girl. And the reason why I'm using her in this video is because she has been in the weight gain fetish community for over a decade and even has made her own profitable business out of it. Please note, looking at these photos, that she is extremely confident and comfortable at her size, embraces the process of weight gain, and even loves to show off the side effects to her health that her weight gain has caused.
Body positivity is a dangerous thing to promote.
In fact, secrets out, half the reason why I found this content is because I actually do find some very large women to be very attractive, and was happy to see people speaking out and taking photos of themselves to embrace fat acceptance and liberation. Of course, there's a huge difference between being comfortable in your own skin and showing that to the world
and promoting it,
deliberately gaining weight to satisfy your partner's desires or garner attention and money from sites like OnlyFans, Patreon, etc. This can oftentimes lead to some pretty devastating consequences, not only to the health of the individual, but their public reputation as well.
That's right. Well, and to the public.
Now we're going to talk about the other side of the spectrum, which is, of course, the anorexia fetish. So thinness, of course, is something that the Western media has always touted as something to aspire to. We've all witnessed ad campaigns showing very thin, tall, and beautiful individuals with bodies that seem impossible to aspire to. This on its own can make us feel worse about our own bodies and create major insecurities. This was especially bad in the early 2000s when celebrities like Paris Hilton were all the rage and there was little else in the media to look at. My mom actually jokingly calls this phenomenon heroin chic because the models of that time looked so emaciated that they could have been on drugs. But of course now the media is very conscientious of this and has started to include men and women of all shapes and sizes to be part of their ad campaigns. We also have to thank the Black community for embracing thick women as a new idyllic standard of beauty. So obviously I'm a pretty average-sized woman. I am what would be considered thick, and it's thanks to the inclusivity of the Black community that I actually feel comfortable with my body and don't feel like I'm too fat or ashamed of the way I look. So what if you or I or anyone got in a relationship or joined a community where they essentially say you are not beautiful or sexy unless you are so skinny that you look like you could die? Thankfully, communities like this are relatively few and far between because A, most men biologically associate extreme thinness with infertility and therefore do not desire this body type, or B, most of the anorexic bloggers / websites are created by women for other women to inspire their own weight loss, and the sexual element just isn't there. But now, thanks to the incredibly popular skeleton queen Eugenia Cooney, we are seeing a flood of anorexic fetishists and enablers coming out of the woodwork to openly encourage being deathly thin. This can be most readily witnessed.
And this is what I'm saying about both sides of this spectrum. The ones who are very obese, super morbidly obese, and making a very good living off being so, and having their feeders who, you know, provide their lifestyle quite nicely or bolster their lifestyle. And then we've got the other end of the spectrum here. And both sides, they are in the position to encourage vulnerable, impressionable people, youngsters usually, to copy them in the hope of gaining not only their popularity, but very similar bank balances, not realising that once you embark on that, once you embark on the Foodie route or this anorexia route, then you are on the road to devastation.
If you watch one of Eugenia's Twitch live streams, which I don't recommend you do, where literally hundreds of people are calling her beautiful the second she logs on and donate literally thousands of dollars when she stands up to show off her outfits. And that's just the beginning when talking about how destructive this is. I mean, I could make an entire video talking about how Eugenia promotes anorexia fetishism, but I'll just leave it at that. So back to talking about why it can be so dangerous to be part of a community or in a relationship with someone that is encouraging extreme weight loss or gain can be broken down into the following bullet points. And hopefully you will notice the similarities between
I think we'll skip these because we know them. So, I'll skip just a little bit, but here's some pictures, and it's the same woman and the transformation from when she was a normal weight to when she was a bigger weight to when she was a much bigger weight. And here again, we have another woman, and we see her through the stages of, you know, when she was smaller to when she was larger, much larger, much larger, with her partner there, happily encouraging her. Why? Because it brings in the money. Well, here she is, Emily, talking about being super morbidly obese, how it can be difficult getting out of bed, showering, or the basic things in life.
Impossible without assistance. You see a ton of this on My 600-Pound Life, where people are miserable with this existence instead of glamorizing it like they do on fetish sites. And of course, anorexia fetishists love seeing bones from muscle wasting, as well as how difficult it is for the individual to maintain a normal life in their condition. Now, the next two similarities I'm about to describe to you are so dark that I should mention that this is the pinnacle of the depravity within these fetishes, and do not necessarily apply to everyone that is partaking in this. But they are common enough themes that I feel like they should be mentioned here for informative purposes. Both anorexia fetishists and feeders are often turned on by the idea that their partner could injure themselves from what they're doing to their bodies. For a super morbidly obese person, something as simple as twisting an ankle could leave them bedbound and dependent on others for months, which of course to a feeder is the ultimate sense of control. For an anorexia fetishist, the idea that their partner is so weak and frail that they could literally break them in half is an ultimate sense of control. And the last, but obviously the most disturbing similarity of both of these fetishes is that they subconsciously or even deliberately endorse the misogynistic ideal that a woman or man is a disposable commodity to be used for sexual gratification. These fetishes kill people, plain and simple.
Yes.
And a lot of these fetishists that are actively pursuing this lifestyle are secretly turned on by the idea of their partner's bodies getting so fat or skinny that it finally kills them. And even if they feel guilty for having these feelings, they can't deny that it is part of their paraphilia, and if acted upon by never encouraging their partner to get help, it can obviously lead to devastating consequences. That is why I say if you're considering pursuing this type of lifestyle, whether it be gaining weight intentionally to gain more followers or trying to become the next skeleton queen, that you consider the audience you will be appealing to. So I'm not kink shaming here. Obviously the people that have these fetishes didn't choose to be like this and should not be demonized for having these desires. Also, there is nothing inherently wrong with having a preference for a super large or super skinny person. But the public needs to be more aware that these fetishes do exist so they don't unintentionally get involved with a potential predator that only wants them because of how fat or skinny they can get them to be. So that's all I really had to say on this topic. If you liked this video or found it informative, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you'd like to connect with me, my Twitter handle is the same as my user on here, Emmy. I'm pretty unknown on YouTube and Twitter, so if you do reach out to me, I'll make sure to respond, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you.